My name is Jill Coyle, and welcome to another episode of No One Dies from Divorce, where we talk the nitty-gritty aspects of divorce and help each other come through this not only surviving, but thriving. I'm a divorce attorney, and I'm interviewing other experts and people just like you who are going through or have been through a divorce, so you can have the latest and greatest information on all things before, during, and after divorce. Let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of No One Dies from Divorce. Today, we're talking about nice guys. All things nice guys. And I love the title of this because it's Nice Guys Finish in the Middle Management. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because Adeel George, you are my special guest today to talk about what you're doing for the community. No more Mr. Nice Guys. I'm really excited to talk about this. Welcome to the show, Adeel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You know, it's funny because my title was called No More or Nice Guys Finish Last. And Adeel was explaining to me before that we actually don't say nice guys finish last because nice guys in reality actually don't finish last, right, Adeel?
Yes.
They're actually really good people and they have good intentions and they really want to make good strives to, be honest and uphold that. And so I love this because he said nice guys finish in the middle management, which means that they're not necessarily putting themselves out there to show their true potential or a lot of times they're not putting themselves first. Mm-hmm. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, they kind of like play it safe a lot. Let's put it that way. So they would try to make sure that they are safe in all aspects of life and try to control all aspects of their life. But that prevents them from achieving their full potential of sorts.
Right. So we're going to be talking about that today. Adeel is a very good friend of mine, and I'll tell you a little bit about how we met. But let me tell you first of all about him. And so Adeel is a user experience professional, but through his personal experience of divorce and subsequent journey of self-discovery, he has accepted his calling to help other men find community among men. Many men have troubles in relationships, whether it's building healthy relationships or finding the right partner. In this day and age, more boys are being raised by single mothers with absentee fathers. As a result, there are fewer strong male role models. These boys grow up into men, and they grow up confused, isolated, and disconnected. Another unintended consequence is the delayed maturity amongst modern men who struggle with their inner turmoil. This is exactly what Adeel said. I'm building communities of men so that they have fellowship to learn from each other and also rely on each other, and in doing so, develop healthy self-acceptance. I love that so much. These strong male bonds also free their partners to be their companions and not a replacement for their mothers. Alongside his passion for building communities, Adeel is a father, an entrepreneur, and any spare time he has, he spends it pursuing his love for travel and photography. You can learn more about Adeel's work at his website, which is integratedmen.net. Welcome to the show, Adeel.
Okay. Thank you for having me, Jill.
You are welcome. So me and Adeel met how many years ago? 5, 6?
Yeah, it's been about 6 years.
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah.
Many stories, just like Adeel. He came to find an attorney that he felt like would be able to advocate and help him along what I would say probably was a pretty traumatic experience, and fighting for your rights and fighting for what you believed was right and fair. So not only did I get the privilege of being Adeel's attorney, I got to fight right alongside him for what I felt was right and truth. I have gotten to know Adeel personally now, and I characterize you as my friend because he's so prolific now in the community, especially here in Salt Lake City and in Utah. I do what I can to give back and help him through his organizations, No More Mr. Nice Guy. And he's also, I want to do whatever I can to support Adeel in your mission and what you're doing, because I know that it's so important. So thanks, Adeel, for being willing to be on my podcast today and talk a little bit more about this.
Okay. Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here talking to you about the work that I do and share our stories of how we've evolved over the last few years and where you are and where I am now.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit more about the story of, your story through divorce and what led you to want to kind of put this as your mission and your passion.
Yeah, so like I've always liked to help people, but being the nice guy I was as a young adult growing up, and obviously it became to be a very unhealthy experience over time, where I became enmeshed in a very unhealthy relationship, and which ended up in a divorce, and to the point where it was a very high conflict situation, and we did settle out of court the first time, but again, being the nice guy back then I was, it wasn't a very good deal that I got, and over time I got involved with seeking help myself, going to therapy and attending a men's group, which eventually I kind of became the organizer and leader of. And I saw that it's not just me, there's hundreds of other people, in fact, thousands of other men that are struggling with the same issues, and they need some guidance, and they need to know what are they doing wrong about their lives and what's their backstory. And pretty much everybody has a similar backstory where they are, it's again, boilerplate template. They've got issues with their relationships with their father. For example, there's an absentee father,
right,
or a very angry father that does not interact with them on a regular basis. So that's a boilerplate story that we have. And I interview pretty much every new person that comes, and it's I can read the script of their life before they can tell me what's happening. So it's a pretty sad story, and but it's also that it's not only the divorced parents that have the same issue. It's people whose parents never got divorced, but they have the same issues. The dad was practically never there, or we use this quote a lot in our meetings, the children were supposed to be seen and not heard, so they were never interacted with.
Right. I think that I just kind of want to go to this really hard subject. Father's rights. We hear it a lot now. It's pretty prevalent, especially in our field in divorce, is what is the right of a father? And I want to kind of talk on a couple, specifically 2 points. And obviously I practice in Utah, and this is where your divorce was, Adeel, so you're kind of familiar with it, that in Utah, when we're looking at, there's no presumption of custody in Utah. So it's not going to be an automatic play that a father and a mother are going to get equal time with their kids. And in Utah specifically, when they're looking at who should be the custodial parent, they look at who's the primary caretaker of the child. And primary caretaker a lot is, who's taking them to the doctor, who's doing their schoolwork, who's cooking them dinner. And, it tends to be a pretty gender biased role. It completely discounts a father who's working out of the home to obtain the financial support of the family. So I kind of wanted to just ask you the question of, as a father, and you were coming in this divorce right in the period of Utah, still really looking, I would say, away from a father's importance in a child's life and more grasping onto this primary caretaker. So you kind of saw that through your first divorce. How, as a father, how did that make you feel? And kind of the emotions that went along with it.
Yeah, it felt pretty bad because it felt that I, as a father, I don't have any rights. That was the first thing. And in fact, I've got more responsibilities, but I have lesser rights. So that felt pretty bad, that why is that the case? And this should change. And that's that's a big desire of me to get involved in some sort of way to change that narrative about that fathers are not important, that the mother is the primary caretaker. Yes, mother has an equal role to play, but at some stage the father has to come in now, take on the role that a father plays. He has to show the kid world from a different perspective. I kind of read this psychological story that fathers are important because they show the kid the perspective of the world from a different perspective. For example, when they throw the kid in the air, mother is never going to do that, but he has the courage to do that because he knows that he's going to catch the kid back, and
Right.
that is showing the kid the world from a different perspective. Again, that's a very extreme thing to do, but
Right.
again, only fathers will go to that extreme, and again, they will push their kid to participate in some physical activities where the mother might not be concerned about. So the mother wants to protect the child, and that's where the mother's role come. But the father wants to push the child out into the world and have him or her experience the world through a different lens.
Right. And Adeel, your divorce was finalized in when? 2019.
19. Oh, no, the
No,
divorce
no.
was finalized in 2013.
13.
Yeah.
And from 2013 to now, I mean, I can say that the conversation has definitely shifted to now recognizing such an important role as a father. And I want to be very, very clear. Like today, me and Adeel are talking about really good dads that want and need to be part of these children's lives. And I want to clarify, there are dads out there that have chosen to be absentee dads, who have chosen not to be part of those children's life. And then, yes, they then come to court and say, well, now I should have that right. And I just want to be clear, we're not necessarily talking about that, because that's a different story for a different day and for a different topic. Right now, we're really talking about these fathers who want to be a primary caretaker, but maybe never have been able to have the opportunity because the mom's been a stay-at-home mom, and so she kind of picked up that role, and the dad is being the financial breadwinner, and so he's going out there and making sure. And those roles within the marriage worked very, very well to benefit the child. But in that instance, it doesn't mean that your love or your need for your child ever diminished, correct?
Never. It actually grows.
Right.
So.
And when Adeel, when you finally decided and went through this divorce, and you're, this nice guy who knew that you wanted this, to be a part of your child's life, what steps did you take to say, you know what? Roles are going to change now because we're getting divorced, and I'm ready to meet that challenge. I just want the people hearing to say, what did you do to prepare yourself to say, hey, I want to be that role. I want to be that dad.
Okay. Well, I always wanted to be that dad. It was never a question of like, there's a shift in that. No, that was always right from the beginning. It's just that, again, the law was against me, and like my first attorney and my mediator convinced me that 35% is the best that you can get. You can go and spend $30,000 in the court and you'll end up with the same situation. I was like, okay. So again, not a very strong attorney in that case, who would have like said like, hey, let's spend 30, like you might have to spend 40, but we could have gotten that. Again, back then didn't know enough and didn't know what to look for in an attorney as well, to find the attorney that's going to be willing to go that extra mile to get me what I need as a father. So yeah, the desire was always there. And even after my divorce was finalized, I still had my kid 50% of the time anyway for a couple of years. Until obviously my ex decided that he shouldn't have that extra days that he's getting, because that's going to backfire one day. So she started pulling back, and then that's where I need to go to the court and get that
and fight for this,
so that make it formalized, so that there is never a question of how much I get to see my kid.
Yeah. And so when you decided to go back the second time and you recognized that this was going to be an even bigger uphill battle, what were some things you were going to do to make sure that you found that attorney that you felt like was going to be there and fight for you?
Yeah, back then when I first was going through a divorce, I knew I was going through a difficult situation, but I didn't know like what that difficult situation is. Is it just that we are just two people who don't like each other and are just headbutting with each other? But the second time around, I knew what I was dealing with, and as in like, this is a high conflict situation, and not every attorney is set up for high conflict divorces or child custody situations. So I needed to look up for somebody who had the courage to deal with high conflict situations. And as I said, like my first attorney, she wasn't prepared for a high conflict situation. That's why she wanted to settle out of court. And again, I didn't know that as well, and that's why I settled out of court as well. The second time, like I knew that we might have to go all the way to the court to get a resolution that I needed and wanted for my kid. So
Which we ended up doing, and it took us years. And
Yes, it took us 3 years, but
in the end, he ended up getting equal time with his daughter. But man, it was a fight.
it was a fight. Yes, and I have no regrets. I spent a lot of money, paid the whole custody evaluator fee by my out of pocket, but again, worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now you have your daughter. And so going through that, and you saw kind of, you're able to like see the mistakes that you did maybe in the first steps of your divorce.
Yeah.
Did that lead you to this community or to find a community of people that are dealing? I mean, were you kind of drawn to want to kind of be like, hey, listen, don't make the same mistakes I made?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we are kind of like building right now as well. I didn't have a community. I moved here from London, and right through our relationship, all my friends were actually my ex's friends. So I didn't have my own friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I craved that like friendship because when I was living in London, I had a lot of good friends. We would hang out, and that's something that I missed. And over here, I couldn't develop that thing. And again, being a brown person in Utah, who's not even a Mormon, so it becomes hard to like find community over here. So like, where are the other misfits out here that I can go and connect with? So I decided to like, again, like this was a group that was already going on. Obviously I started the group right after around the time I was moving out of the house, and it was like a great place to hang out because there was other people who had similar stories. Not everybody was going through a divorce, but people who didn't have good friends they could relate to their general life situations. Yeah, when I first started, there was this old guy who would come in a wheelchair. Again, he was married to, I don't know, probably a good woman who can handle a disabled person. And yeah, people who were just still in marriages, not very happy situations, but they still needed some companionship and male companionship in particular. So when I first started, 6 months down the line, like the guy who started the group said like, I'm going to move to California with my girlfriend, and here you go. And so a bunch of us like tried to carry on the torch, and over time, like I was the only one left carrying the torch, and I realized that this is something that I really passionately want to do, and it's something that I look forward to do every day in, day out, and every week, to host that meeting, to bring people together, to build connections. And I've realized how much important it is, and how much people benefit from coming together and just learning to open up in a safe space. Because for women, it's pretty easy to connect with other women and talk about stuff. For men, it's pretty hard. And that's why they have situations where you see men blowing up and just having fits of rage because they didn't have a safe space to go and
talk about it,
address whatever is going on in their head. Over here, people come and talk about all sorts of stuff that they are going through. Like one of the very big problem that a lot of guys that come to my group have an issue with pornography, and that's not something that they can talk about openly, but around guys, they can openly talk about that stuff. And that's how they can get over the shame of pornography and all the other stuff that they're doing, and they can move past it. Because if they don't talk about it, it's going to continue to be a hidden thing, and it's going to haunt them and makes it worse. Yeah.
I think that's what I love so much about what you're doing, is that you said a couple things that really struck me. First of all, it's not necessarily about a support group for divorce. It's literally, your mission is to allow others to find companionship, friendship, which, we think about a lot, is like, there's so many apps out there where you are, putting yourself out there to find companionship or a relationship.
Yeah.
But in reality, when we're going through like a divorce, or we're going through some trying times, a relationship is the last thing you should be looking for. But a friendship is so much more needed. And what you guys are doing is trying to fill that gap. Because we talk a lot through divorce about one of the struggles is, how do we fill the loneliness? Because that loneliness is something I think so many people are so scared about. Human nature doesn't like it. It allows us to have bad thoughts creep in, and depression and mental illness can really sit in it. And so So that's another thing that I love about your group, is because it's like, hey, you don't have to be alone. We're not going to be here to, give you a relationship or the kind of intimacy that sometimes men feel like they need, but we're going to be something even more, which is exactly what is so important when you're going through that. Because one of the things I say is, how important is your tribe when you're going through a divorce?
Very important. And again, it's the healthiest place that you can be around, because you don't have any hang-ups. Because again, a lot of people try to get into a next relationship as soon as possible to overcome that loneliness, to minimize that loneliness. But you're jumping from one bad situation to another, because usually most people, either they find the exact opposite of their ex, or usually they find the same person as their ex.
Right.
And they are in the same situation 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, just in a worse situation now that you have 2 alimony payments instead of 1 alimony payment.
Right. And we always say that, like, if you're not going to work on yourself through your divorce, you're just going to go into a next relationship with the same set of problems. I always say that, like, the grass isn't necessarily greener on the other side, because it's just looking like your grass. And it's your job going through this trial or tribulation to really work on your grass, to figure out what you need to nourish it and to become a better person and better version of yourself. When you get to the point where you recognize your worthiness and your happiness, what makes me happy, then you going into a relationship is you standing on your own ability to be happy. And then a relationship just elevates it. Men are such creatures of needing intimacy as well. But when they think of intimacy, they think of sex. And it's the worst thing you can do, is jumping out of relationship and then going into another relationship for the need of fulfillment of sex. And so it's so important when you are filling your cup with things that are making you feel whole and making you feel happy. You're not going to run into those relationship, I guess, dives that are going to just set you up for failure in the future anyways. So, I love that. And I think one of the hardest things is why do you feel like it's so hard for guys to just kind of open up and talk about their feelings?
Because they've never been taught that this is possible, or they've been actually taught that you shouldn't talk about stuff like this, or as they say, like, boys don't cry. And again, like, you're told to bottle up your feelings and you don't talk about stuff like this. You'll be like, you're called a little girl, or you're called a pussy, or you call all the bad words, and you just try to okay, maybe to act like a man, I need to actually hold all these things together. Right. But that actually is a counterproductive thing. That only makes them a robot that just eventually blows up in the face of a conflict.
And that goes straight to the patriarchy. I mean, the patriarchy hasn't just been used to suppress women, but it's actually been used to suppress men and their ability to have feelings, just like you said, and to be able to, talk about what they need. And I think that's why if you look at it and the way that relationships have been going for centuries, no wonder we are struggling so much in marriage right now, because, it used to just be men don't cry, just like you said, women just bow their head and say, yes, sir, and cook their dinner. And now that we're in a century where it's like, okay, we're two people that have feelings and we both want to be able to be happy. No wonder we're having so many problems with communication and the breakdown of the marriage is happening. And I love it. Like, I'm not going to be the first one to say, hey, let's break down patriarchy just for the benefit of the woman. Like, I want men to cry. I want men to feel safe in their ability to express their feelings and know that they're a human being and that they have the right to have these feelings. I think it goes both ways. So having a safe space too, like no more Mr. Nice Guy, because some guys are so afraid of therapy.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'm the first one to say, no, therapy is so good.
Yeah.
But so many of them are so scared of it. So, if you're giving that at least an opportunity for them to feel safe in expressing, even though you're not licensed therapist, but I think that's at least better than nothing.
Absolutely. Like, the the goal is to like nudge people to actually go and seek a therapist. I call our group a therapeutic experience, but I tell people like go find a therapist that you can build a long-term relationship with, where again, you might move or you might not be able to attend these meetings, but that's a safe space. If some people are hesitant to talk about stuff like this, and that's why like, hey, a therapist might be a better place for you. You will feel safe. You get a whole hour to talk about your stuff, and you can schedule a meeting anytime that you want with your therapist. So I'm a big proponent of therapy. Go and find a good therapist. It takes sometimes a while to find the right fit, but again, don't give up on that. But yeah, this is an important step. But one of the problems is that most men try to figure their emotional problems out by themselves as well, and go deeper into isolation. Like I'm going to do self-therapy, and that's not how it works. You have to let go of your shame by sharing it with other people. If you can't do that, you're still bottling those things up. You might journal, that helps a lot, but you still have to go and share whatever is within you with another human being to let go of that shame.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that that's one of the scariest things about therapy, is because you're actually going in and talking about things that you don't want to talk about. And you actually are admitting things that you don't want to admit to yourself. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's the only way we progress. You know, Brene Brown says it best, like, unless we're laying in our vulnerability and our naked self, we're never going to be able to then put on the armor or whatever we need to become stronger, better people. And when you're going through a divorce, there's nothing more vulnerable, nothing more to make you feel naked and scared than that. And so why wouldn't you want to learn the tools to deal with that emotion, to be stronger about it, and then to fix whatever is broken? Not to say that you're broken, but there's clearly pieces that weren't working. And so why wouldn't you want to talk about it and work through that so that the next time you're not broken?
Absolutely. I totally agree. I agree that the stronger you become, the more vulnerable you will be, and the more vulnerable you become, the stronger you become.
Yeah, I love that. So when you're looking at somebody that's going through a divorce, a guy, and you meet them all the time, like what would be what's the biggest advice you give these people going through this process?
Well, begin with self-care instead of like finding people to take care of, finding another broken woman to like fix.
Right?
Go start fixing your own life. Where like, what are the areas that you have neglected about your life? I've met people who've never gone and bought a new shirt for themselves. So they would come and say like, this is the first time I bought a new shirt for myself in 13 years. New shoes for myself in forever, because I would buy everything for everybody else around me, but never take care of myself. So I tell them like, go take care of yourself. And yeah, maybe you want to buy that motorcycle that you've been dreaming for the last 10 years, but wouldn't, because you had all these responsibilities and you neglected yourself. So go do that if that's what you want to do. So yeah, that's beginning with self-care. Hang out with guy friends. Again, that's where you will, I personally believe that the quality of your intimate relationships with women is directly correlated to the quality of your relationship with other men. If you can't have a good relationship with other men, your relationship with your women will never be as good as you want it to be.
Yes,
so that's something I
absolutely love that. And surrounding yourself with people who, first of all, want to support you for you, obviously helps with your self-confidence and helps with your I guess a boost. But then also being with people you trust, that you can break down to who your authentic self is. I mean, I love it when my husband's around his guy friends, because I see an authentic self of my husband that not very many people get to see. And I love that he feels like he can be himself around those guys. And I know that those relationships comes back into our relationship, because he sees what they're doing, and he sees and he's encouraged to say, I see that and I like that. And so there's so many good positive things about having good friends. In your group, do you utilize it as an opportunity to just bash women?
We've been known to be like the women bashing, women hating group, but that's not the case. In fact, most men that come there they love women. Some of them do have resentment towards women. For example, a guy who can't get onto any dates because he's got no confidence. We help them address that resentment towards women, because eventually you want a relationship with that woman, and if you have resentment towards women, you're never going to be in a relationship. So
Right.
we kind of like call them out, and some people do come bitter because they're going through an angry divorce, but we tell them like, hey, this is something that you need to address and work on and make sure that you move past that, because it's going to not only haunt you for the longer you keep this anger bottled within you, it's going to also affect other relationships in your life as well.
Right.
So yeah, people do say things, and again, we try to like make it go away over time. We try to like just take it as a passing phase in people, because again, sometimes people are really hurt. They have been sometimes some of the guys have been taken through cleaners by their exes because they were angry at them for whatever reason, and they had the right to be angry. But as women bashers, I don't think guys in our group are women bashers. And over the years, like, our community has matured enough to the point where women bashers actually don't even come to our group anymore. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, because that's not the purpose of it.
That's not the
purpose. If you want to women bash, you go grab a beer with your friend. But at the end of you guys, I love how you talk a lot about your whole purpose is to move forward. So, okay, yeah, we'll let you complain today, but then we're going to, instigate steps to how are we going to get past this and then grow from it. Yeah. Which, in lines exactly with my mission, because, when I get those clients that just want to be angry and want to, be mad and use the court system as a way of punishment toward their ex, I mean, the first thing I'll say is, listen, you can be mad today. I'm going to give you today to be mad, but I'm going to, go to therapy or do whatever you need to do, but I'm not going to allow you to make, emotional decisions out of anger, because it's never going to benefit you, and it's especially not going to benefit your kids. And that's what you have to do. You have to do whatever you can in a divorce to get to an emotional space that you are not making decisions out of anger. Now, there's a difference of, like you did, where you were just trying to be the nice guy and you're conflict avoidant. And so you just settled because, you were, just wanted to try to do the right thing. There's a difference of that and then just like giving up. But at the end of the day, really helping you understand through your divorce that you're worthy, that, you're strong enough to get through this, and having a place to be able to have a bunch of other people help you get there faster is only going to benefit you through your divorce.
Absolutely. Like, you have to go through that process, and you might have seen a lot of people that they drag their divorce process as well, just deliberately, because they're looking for ways to, can we make it work, or can we reverse this process? And in rare instances, that's possible. Yeah, where the woman realizes maybe I need to do some work as well, and the man realizes I've got some issues that I need to address, go to therapy. But that's a very rare thing. You just have to sometimes just do the work and take the step. And I see a lot of men that are afraid, again, of that loneliness, and they don't want to take that difficult step of completing the journey that they are on, and they would sometimes stay in limbo for years over years because they don't have the courage to take that step and complete that step. And it's sad to see people in that situation, but again, that's nothing me or you can do. They have to make that decision themselves, like, hey, let's get over this hurdle and move on. And I tell people, like, yes, sometimes people do come together, sometimes decades later, and they become partners again.
Right.
Not something that I would do ever or recommend, but that happens, and people reconcile, and they are just two different people at that stage. 10, 20 years down the line, they will be different people. Maybe you can try that, but right now, the people that you are right now, you clearly don't like each other, so it's not going to be any good headbutting with each other and making each other more miserable. So move on and take a lot of actions, because a lot of people just get paralyzed and they don't take any action. Or sometimes they're too scared to take any action. And yeah, my message to people would be like, yeah, take action. That's an important thing to do. That's what defines men as masculine men, because men who don't take any action, they're the ones who always will be resentful and miserable.
And in middle management.
Yes.
Because that's the whole purpose. If you're in a miserable marriage, but you're going to stay, why wouldn't you want to put the work to make it better?
Yeah.
And we've had other people on our podcast, Dr. Abby Medcalf, Dr. Townsend, who have both said that you can improve the quality of a relationship even if your spouse will not do anything. And it all comes back on doing the work with you. And then if you do the work and it's still not, if that person is completely keeping you from being a better version of yourself, keeping you achieving happiness because they continually bring you down, then it's, a no-brainer for us. But divorce is probably the best thing for you. But doing the work to get strong enough that you can handle either way. Because my thought is, man, you put in the work, you stay married, things get better. Oh, you put in the work, you go get divorced, but you're in a better place that you're able to handle it. There's no losing by you continually putting in this work to do something, be active, move forward. I love that.
Yeah.
So you're divorced, you're a single dad, you've got equal custody with your daughter. I know that there's a lot of people that listen to this, and I would really love to hear your advice on how you have strengthened your relationship with your child as a single dad.
Spending quality time with her. It's not a lot of time. I don't have much time, but whatever time I have, I make sure that I give her quality time. That means, for example, when we come home from school, I make sure that I pick her up from her school or her mom's house. For the first 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I make sure that we spend quality time with each other where she can talk about anything with me. Again, before going to bed, we have time where we either read a book or anything, and she just wants to talk, and she shares a lot of things, and she's getting to a point where she has a lot of opinions. So
how old is she now?
She just turned 11 a couple of months ago. Yeah. So it's a time where she's kind of like picking up a lot of things about how people operate around her, and so she's a smart kid, but she also have a lot of opinions, and she needs somebody to listen to them. And again, I'm happy that she finds that I'm a person that she can open up to and talk to, and I'm that person. I'm happy that I'm that person that she can open up to as well, that strengthens our relationships. Again, so doing a lot of things with her. Again, we do travel to visit family together as well in California. So again, a lot of things that we do together are things that bring us together. And that's, again, but most important part is just quality time, even if it's not a lot of time, and making sure that your kid knows that they are heard. And going away from that old paradigm where kids are just meant to be seen and not heard. If we break that, and that is just a big step forward in bringing parents and kids together.
I love that. And so if you were to give everybody advice out there of what, lessons learned from Adeel George, what would be a few things that you'd want to make sure our listeners knew?
A few things I would say is, first of all, start taking immaculate care of yourself. A lot of people neglect self-care because they were so busy taking care of other people around them. And at some stage, you have to do that, where you're probably taking care of like a sick parent or a child that probably takes a lot of your time. But make sure you start investing in yourself as well, whether it's just going to the gym on a regular basis or working out with some friends. Have good guy friends. Again, not just guy friends, good guy friends. And over time, you will have to develop that muscle of identifying what is a good person that you want to hang out with, and finding your passion in life. Again, a lot of people are just motoring along in life, and that's why they rot in middle management. And to get beyond that, you have to find your passion and pursue that. It doesn't have to be your job. It could be an art project that you are interested in, or as a kid you wanted to do photography, art, you wanted to play piano. Go and pursue that passionately. And a lot of people think that your passion has to be associated with job. Again, we live in a very capitalistic society, I would say, and we want to capitalize on anything, but sometimes you can't, and you shouldn't worry about making money out of your passion. It could just be a passion project, whether it's going and running up mountains. So finding that passion. So these are the few things that kind of like add value to your life and help you develop good self-confidence, and help you create stories and experiences that you will never have if you don't get out and do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell everybody, like, if they were interested in finding you, how would they do that?
First of all, a message to girlfriends and wives: please don't send their husbands or boyfriends to my group. That's never going to work because they have to find it out themselves. They have to do the work. They have to come themselves, because I get a lot of messages from girlfriends or wives, or sometimes a mom would say like, hey, my kid would benefit from your group. And I said, he might, but he has to do it himself. It has to be his decision.
Just like therapy, you know?
Just like therapy. And if you push him, the person might come 3 or 4 times just to please you for a little while, and then they will disappear and you will be back to square one. Other than that, yeah, just go to our website, integratedmen.net. You can find us over there and join us through that website. And there's a pretty simple process. All the details and information are there. I usually respond to emails that people send to me within 24 hours if you've got any questions, but I've tried to make sure that I put in as much information on that website as possible so that they can find all the answers that they're looking for. And if they can't, again, join our group. Our group is actually now gone nationwide. We've got members joining from all over the country, but if they still can't, if they want to find something local, there are plenty of local movements going on out there. And if that doesn't work, go join a sports team. You'll still be around men who are at least doing something than nothing.
Yes, absolutely. I think that that's such an important thought is to end with, is that taking care of yourself, number one. And so many times in marriages, we just put our head down and we take care of everybody else, which is why at the end, we're like, I don't even know how to take care of myself. So figure it out, because at this time, it's okay to take care of yourself. We as human beings start thinking, is that selfish? And I'm like, no, you should be taking care of yourself in a marriage, but so many of us forget. So at the divorce, hey, this is the time you should be doing it. And just like you said, it looks like taking care of yourself in so many different ways. But the first step is at least making that effort to figure out what you need. It's not easy. A lot of people, I get messages from men a lot and say, no one dies from divorce. That's not true. Like, I feel like I'm dying every day. And I just want to be clear about that. My title, No One Dies from Divorce. Divorce will not kill you. People will, and yourself, if you don't do what's necessary to get yourself in the right place, can hurt you. And that's our purpose here. That's our mission, is that what Adeel's doing, what I'm doing, is to let you know that you are going to be okay. You are strong enough to get through this. Right now, oh man, it might seem like you don't know how. You don't know where to look. You might feel like you're drowning. And I get that. You might feel like this weight is going to kill you. But I want you to do one thing for me right now. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think of one person you care about. And I want you, once you get that in your eyes, I want you to take one deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath. And I want you to remember that there are people out there that love you. And they want you to succeed. And you will be okay. I'm here every week to give you tips, guidance, to let you know that no one has to die from divorce. That this is a time in your life that you're going to be able to utilize to become a stronger and better person. And man, I can't wait to see what that person becomes. You got a cheerleader. Adeel, you've been amazing. Thank you for teaching me and being willing to share what you're doing with this community. It's so important. And I know that you've lived through it, and it's just amazing what you are doing for other people so that maybe they can learn from, your story. I think that that's important. No more Mr. Nice Guys. Remember that that website is integratedmen.net. They're there to help you find your tribe if you don't have one and you need one. So thanks, Adeel, for joining me today.
Thank you, Jill.
Hey, remember, No One Dies from Divorce. It's available on Amazon. It's in all local stores our podcast is also on Spotify, on Apple, and I would just want to challenge all my listeners today. If you have not done so already, you go to my podcast right there on Apple and you click that 5-star. You rate us. It lets other people see what we're doing. It lets them hear and come and get the help and maybe resources that they didn't even know was available. So I am so grateful for our listeners. We're almost at 3,000 downloads. I just want to say thank you so much. I am here every day to let you know that you are going to be okay. No one dies from divorce. Until next time, thank you so much, Adeel.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, follow, and share. I'd love to hear your questions and feedback. You can contact me at community@jillcoyle.com. See you next time. I am an attorney, but I am not your attorney. Any advice given on the podcast is general and shall not be construed as legal advice.